Welcome to NET Vaper Reviews. Today's review is a mouth-to-lung RTA that has been mentioned to me again and again when I reviewed other mouth-to-lung RTAs in the last few reviews. Every time in one of the comments, why don't you try the Tripod mouth-to-lung RTA by Atmizoo? Yeah, the Tripod. And here it is. Well, I was recommended so many times by you guys in the comments on various mouth-to-lung RTAs that I reviewed the last few months. Everyone is saying, why don't you try the Tripod? So one of the guys in the office, he normally gets the stock for the business, and he also gets my vaping gear many times. So I asked him to check on a UK website to see who's selling it. To get mouth-to-lung RTAs today from Europe or from China, any vaping gear is very difficult with the shipping. Things are changing in a crazy manner that I don't want to talk about now. That's not a subject, but shipping has become an issue. So when he told me that Mark from Nature Vape is selling it, I said to him, well, don't hesitate, just go and buy it. And by the way, thank you, Mark, for your generous discount. Very much appreciated. Yeah, so I'm holding the Tripod here, and I've been using this now for the last 2 weeks. What do I think of it? Well, it's something about mouth-to-lung RTAs that are produced in Europe or with a European design in the background, even though produced in China. It's something about those mouth-to-lung RTAs, especially when it comes to tobacco, that they are just superb. This, for instance, is made in Greece, if I'm not mistaken. You know, the Kayfun's Germany, the Sputnik Switzerland, the Bishop is the Italian design, the Spiker Pro in Greek. So what is so special about those mouth-to-lung RTAs that have got a European hand in it, especially when it comes to tobacco? I think that because they love their tobaccos. And when they design a mouth-to-lung RTA, they've got tobacco flavors in mind. There's a huge difference between fruit flavors and cream vaping on a mouth-to-lung and tobacco. Tobacco, naturally extracted, and especially certain tobaccos, have got very delicate flavors in them and notes in the background. And if some mouth-to-lung RTA just comes up as generic tobacco, but on some mouth-to-lung RTAs, it simply shines, it's defined, it's alive. You taste that tobacco the way it was designed to be tasted. And this Tripod mouth-to-lung RTA is one of those. We'll talk about a bit more after the close-up. Let's go down to the close-up. We'll see how it works, all the components, and you notice the mouthpiece is not the original mouthpiece. This was the original, not so mouth-to-lung. There's two things here that are a bit annoying, not annoying, but we'll talk about that. But in general, this mouth-to-lung RTA, very happy I got it. Okay, without further ado, let's go to the close-up and then we'll talk about a bit more. Right, so let's have a closer look at Tripod from Atmizoo. Atmizoo, but over here it does say by Atmizoo, yeah. Okay, let's have a look what it says here. Tripod, stainless steel matte. It even tells you the date, must have when it was done, most probably. Not sure. Yeah. And here you've got what you get in the box, and it's made, I think, in Greece. Yeah. Okay, let's open up the box. Very nice solid box. Warranty and authenticity card. Yeah, and manual. The manual is quite extensive. If you want to freeze, because here you got this features and specs, but I'm going to put it also below, where you can freeze. I'll put each section for a second, so like this you could freeze it. I mean, it's quite extensive, I must say. It's quite a long one, but I think it's fairly easy to do. I mean, it's quite busy tank. That I noticed already, because I already obviously washed it and taken it apart. It is a busy tank, but we'll look at it in a minute. So here you got inserts. You get 1 millimeter, 1.2, 1.5 and 1.8. You can see clearly it's written on them. And here you get a spare glass. And inside here, let's try and take this out. I don't want to ruin the sponge, but there's no really an easy way out. Just have to really use quite a lot of force because it's very snug. Okay, so what you get is sticker, 2 screws, and a very nice idea of O-rings, 1-to-1 scale, so you can put each O-ring and you know which O-rings you've got. This is for the inserts, this red one here, I will come to in a minute. So we're going to use the 1.2. I think 1 will make the external airflow too tight, so you see the red O-ring here. So we're going to use that. Let's put everything aside, and here you get spare glass. Yeah. So let's put this aside, like we don't lose anything. Right, we'll do that later. So let's have a look on the tank. First of all, you can tell straight away that this is a high-end tank. This, just looking at it, touching it, you realize that this is not made cheaply. This is done very well indeed. What does it say in the back here? The serial number and Atmizoo by Atomzone. Yeah, okay. So let's start with the top, the mouthpiece. Now this mouthpiece is an interesting mouthpiece. First of all, you can't get off that mouthpiece if you don't open up your top cap. To open up the top cap, you can see an arrow here, and you can see a small dot here. Now it's not easy to see, so yeah, you need to line these two up, and then you wiggle it off, and you get to your juice ports. Now this mouthpiece is made out of 2 sections, you see, so you can put in your own mouthpiece. Let's have a look. What have I got here handy? My Pioneer. So yep, so you can put in your own mouthpiece here, and when you secure it, it will be secure. Let's take this one out, and we'll use the mouthpiece that was supplied with. Now you'll see VG everywhere because I already lubricated every single O-ring and threading there is. That's the only way you can get things done without hiccups. So this is your mouse breather as it comes with. Now in here you can see a cap. This is to reduce the fairly large chamber to a very small chamber for mouse to lung, and here you put in your juice. So we'll see that in a minute. I'll show you what it's all about. Now we could open this section. Now one thing I must caution everyone who's got this, these O-rings come off very easily, and you must put them on flat surface, because one side is flat and one side is a bit smaller. It's like a 2-layer. So you need to always put the flat one against the surface, otherwise it would not shot properly. So that is one section, and you see how the O-ring just comes off. This should be on the base. So these O-rings you need to keep an eye, because these two O-rings hold the glass securely. So you have to keep an eye on these two O-rings. Luckily they're not so small, so they won't get lost. Right, so now let's put this back, and we'll open the deck. Then you'll be able to see. Well, hang on a minute. No, let's do this otherwise. Now, to open up the deck, first of all, this is your airflow, and it comes to a stop on either side. Now, to open up your deck, if you can notice here, there's an arrow where it says tripod. You need to turn the juice. This is your juice flow. So you need to turn it until you see another arrow, and it's turn, turn, turn until you find it. And here we go. You can see the two arrows line against each other, and then you just wiggle this out, and you got your deck out. But we'll have a look at the deck in a minute. Now if you look in the dome, you can see, I mean, if you've seen my review on the Spiker Pro, there is a cap within the dome. This is a similar concept, but not quite. Over here you need something to put your, just to get it started, and you'll see what happens. This is the screw, but inside there is a little, now if you see the dome now, it's quite big, and a wide opening for restricted direct to lung. This cap is a mouth to lung cap, and also I think it's better flavor. Makes sense, it condenses the flavor more. But this is a similar concept to the Spiker Pro, but without the option to lift or lower it. It stays fixed. So we'll put it back and tighten this back. So if you want a restricted direct to lung, then you take this out. But all the machining here is so, you can see yourself, pristine. Really precise stuff. Yeah. Now this O-ring, again, it sticks to the window, so you have to be careful with this, not to lose it, or not to put it back in the wrong way. Let me just move the mat here. Put back the glass and close this. Yeah, so that's the top section, right? You can see a juice flow here, the dome inside, and here you got these cutouts for the deck to go in nice and easy according to the arrow here and the arrow here, and you just line them up. Okay, that's that section. Now we're going to go around looking the deck itself. Now, as you can see here, it got an opening. This is, I wrote it down, 4mm opening. So again, if you take out that chimney, that cap here, and you got this big opening, you get a fairly restricted direct along. But this, we're using it as a mouth along. So here your juice gets in from here, quite large juice wells. Now to put in your insert, let's mount it on my coil master. Oh, one more thing, the pin is very, very shallow. Now, you could open this pin, pull this out, so it sort of separates from the base, and then there is another insert inside that's got a hole in it. And that is the second section of the 510. And you can see it inside here. Now, the air comes in through here, and hits that pin and goes up here through the insert that we're going to put in and hits your coil. So it's a fairly sophisticated airflow system. But I don't want to take this out. I took it out before and it was a bit of a trouble to get it back in. So I mean, if I show you on the, I don't know if it'll be, let's have a look. You see, if you open up your 510, it doesn't show it here. It doesn't show it here, but yeah, so there's an insert inside that separates. You know what, it wouldn't take me long. Let's hope all goes smooth. I don't like really opening the 510, but let's leave this there. You see this? You see this hole? Now you can get inserts with smaller or bigger holes. And this is your positive. Yeah. Right, so I done it. Let's hope I get it back the right way. I don't like messing around with this. No, I didn't get in properly. Should slot in. Now you go inside here, 510 insulator. You must be careful that you don't lose it. And tighten it well. And make sure everything is 100% secure. Okay, so let's now go ahead and build the deck. So in order to put in your insert, you must open these screws, because otherwise it wouldn't drop in. Now I'm using the 1.2, and this should really just stick in. That's it, it's done. And you can see what a small opening this is. So like this I can control it as well for the external. If I use the 1mm, then it will be too small. Okay, now let's put in a coil. So I'm going to use Nature Vape 1 ohm coil. Now I've got here a coil that I already cut in advance and gave it already a dry fire. So it's very easy to mount in. As you can see, there is these little notches here that holds your coil in place on either side. You put in your coiling tool and this will hold your coil perfectly in place. Yep. So we just need now to go ahead and secure it. That's it, done. 0.99 ohm. Well, it's a 1 ohm. Maybe we'll change. See, 1 ohm, 2.5 millimeter. You could, in theory, put in here a 3 millimeter in diameter, but yeah, you could. I assume, yeah. Let's just give this a dry fire, although I've done it already, just to make sure. Okay, let's see if it changed the ohms at all. Well, it did, yes. 104. Let me just make sure it's fully secure. See, ohm, sometimes the coil settles in after the wicking. Okay, so I've got a piece of wick over here. I use my organic Mujis. I find them perfect for the job. Just feed the coil, the wick in, make sure it's not too tight, not too loose. And it will cut it. You see, the juice wells are fairly big, so I don't want to thin it, but I'll just cut it to the, if you press your scissors right the bottom of this, the wall of the juice well, so you get some kind of indication where to cut, and then just check it. You see, so it reaches just below where the juice will be. The other side will be easier because you do it more or less the same as this, just to make sure. You want to make sure your wicking is done right, otherwise you ruin your first experience of the tank. I'm not going to thin it because the juice wells are fairly big, and I want them nice and spread. And they'll cover the whole juice well. Just keep them fluffy, spread them out, and that's it. I think I could have cut a bit more thicker piece of wick, but always in doubt. In certain tanks you need to cut them thicker, yes, but most of the times less is more, because if you put too much wick, it chokes the flow to the coil. Alright, that's done. Let me tidy this up a bit as well. Now what I'm going to use for this tank is juice that I've got in my Bishop, the El Chapo from Juice Cabin. Very nice naturally extracted tobacco with a delicate back note of honey. Only very good mouth-to-lung RTAs pick up that flavor the way I like it. And I've got it actually now in the Bishop, so I would like to see straight away, because this flavor I know very well, I seek it, and when I ever try a new mouth-to-lung RTA, I'm looking for that back note, delicious sweetness of that honey. It goes so well with the tobacco. Right, let's just you see the ohm settle, 1 ohm. 101. That's what happens a lot of times, and never get alarmed when you see a bit high or low ohm. Let's just make sure there's vapor. Yeah, okay. Phew, nice smell. Get that sweet honey. Okay, so in order to put back the tank, you need to line up this arrow here with the arrow on the where the logo of the tripod is, and that's it, it's done. So that is very similar to the Fev, to the Bishop. Bishop is a bit different. You twist here, you have to line up. It's more, and the Fev has got like a cutout on the base, but it's a similar design to those high-end tanks. Right, let's put in the flavor, the liquid. This holds a 2 mil, but you can get an extension for to make, I think, 4 mil. We'll go through that at the top anyways. Now you notice the juice flow is shot. Yep, so you want to make sure that it remains shot while you're... Now this is one thing, to put back the cap, you can't just put it back the way you a normal cap by screw on or push. You have to find that little dot to align it, and here it is. You see it here. So this is a bit of a pain, must tell you. I can't see it. Here we go. Then you just twist it, so now it's secure. Sort of view, lift here. See, now it's secure, then moved away. Now we'll just open the juice flow. I'll open it just halfway. You can see already the bubbles coming up. See that? Unmounted from my coil master. So this tank now is ready to vape. I'm going to put it on my Argus GT by Vupu, a dual 18650, because I want to go out now, so I want to have 2 batteries to keep me on the journey, and I want to test this now while I'm driving. Perfect place. Let's have a look at the ohms. What does it say here? 107. Well, let's give this a vape, maybe we'll settle in. Flavor is superb, but I'm not crazy about this mouthpiece at all. I feel my lips are touching the base. Let's increase the wattage. Gives you a max wattage here because it's on smart. Okay. Flavor is very good. I'm tasting that honey exactly the way I like it on the Bishop. The airflow is very smooth. I'm going to shut the airflow halfway. Perfect. Well, the mouthpiece is not very comfortable, so most probably when you see me on top again, I'm going to change this mouthpiece to a different mouthpiece. Not crazy about this mouthpiece, no. Flavor is superb, superb. Okay, I'm going to now take it out for the journey. Vape this a few days, give it a good testing. But what I can tell you straight away, this is top machinery. The airflow is smooth like butter. Fairly silent, not the most quietest. But the 1.2 millimeter insert is perfect. The flavor is exactly the way I like this juice, and this has got this delicate flavor in it that not every mouse to long RTA picks it up so well. I am so happy this does. But I'm not happy with this mouthpiece, no. Okay, for you it'll be just 1 second. We'll talk about it a bit more on top. We'll go through how it is compared to other RTAs, mouth to long, the pros, the cons, everything to do about this tank. See you in a second. Yeah, so now you understand why I changed the mouthpiece. The mouthpiece, the original, is very on mouth to long. Now, there's a few things that I want to talk about this tank, and then to sum it up. First of all, the top cap. I have no idea why brilliant minds who designed this type of mouth to long RTA came up with this type of design. You see, the problem is with me in particular, is very difficult for me to see that point and where the arrow is supposed to meet. In order for me to take off the cap, very difficult for me to see. So, okay, it's not a deal breaker, but every time I want to put in juice, I got to find that thing and align it. And if you turn it, it just turns and turns with no end. So you got to find it. This is one thing. The second thing is, when you put in your own mouthpiece, let me just show you what happens. Let me just close the juice flow. I don't want flooding. Okay, I'm taking off the cap. I aligned it. So now what happens is, because the mouthpiece is not attached anymore, because this comes in a two-part, yeah, as you've seen, what happens is you remain with the mouthpiece stuck. So in theory, you can put in your liquid, but if it's a chubby nozzle, you need to take out your mouthpiece, and then, yeah, that's just as something I've noticed. Yeah. Okay, let me just open the juice flow again. Now, the juice flow opens very easy after it's lubricated, very simple to use. The airflow also turns very easy indeed, no problem. Everything has to be with a bit of VG and the O-rings, then you haven't got no problem. The deck opens in a very similar way to the Lamo. Where's the Lamo here? That you also have to align those two and pull off your deck. So, what is my experience with this amazing mouth to long RTA? Let's talk about first build quality. The build quality here is simply superb. Up to the nearest to it, I think the Kayfun. I think the Kayfuns are. It's a similar build quality to the Kayfuns, the Kayfun Light and the Kayfun Prime. The Kayfun Prime is a bit more busier and more more components in a way. But this is not so many components here. Just you have to remember to align the deck and align your top cap in order to either put in the juice or take off the deck. It's fairly simple. That little cap in the chimney that reduces the chamber size works wonders. I mean, this is a true mouth to long, no doubt about, although not so quiet. I mean, the quietest mouth to long RTA that I've got is the Fev. Absolute silent. The Bishop as well is a bit noisier. It's the same, similar, but look, the whoosh of air does make no difference to the flavor. That is not an issue at all. Some people like it very quiet. I mean, even the Kayfun Light with the Aerocon pin is, you can still hear the air going through. You know, interesting. The True Tank from EH Pro and Nature Vape, at the time, it still is a very good tank. I use it quite often. But at the time, the airflow here was, for me, the benchmark, what means a proper mouth to long. and you can still hear the whoosh of the air going through the airflow system. So the air, the noise is nothing. If you call this noisy, I don't call this noisy at all. Now, so the airflow system works here. It's like every other mouth-to-lung RTA that the insert goes into the deck. There is a drawback in that. If you want to change your airflow, you need to take off your coil, take it all out, the coil and the cotton, change your airflow, and then redo it. On contrast, the Bishop, it goes by pins. So you just take out the pins and put in new ones, bigger, smaller. When it comes to the FEV as well, you just unscrew, you don't touch the whole deck, everything remains intact. But as the Sputnik as well, you can open up from the deck. If you watch my review on the Sputnik, you take out that air plate. So it's a bit more involved when you want to change your airflow. The Lamo in a way is easier because it's all on your underneath the airflow ring, so in a way that's easier, but it's also a bit fiddly. The top cap on the Lamo is also a bit fiddly, similar design. I mean, this is not as fiddly, this is easier to do because there's no need to grip. The worst is the Spiker Pro when it comes to the top cap. You really need to dig your nails in here, but after you master it, there's no problem at all. And here also to change the airflows through the pins. So the airflow, when you decided what airflow you want, I've got in here the 1.2 millimeter, as you've seen in the close-up. If I would have put in the 1 millimeter, it would become too tight for me to vape on. And here, at least I've got control through the external airflow. Now, this is a true mouth-to-lung. I mean, even this is fully open. It's a proper mouth-to-lung. There's no way you can do a direct-to-lung. I mean, if you have used the biggest pin, the 1.8, and take out that reducer from the chimney, you might get a restricted direct-to-lung. But you know, here I'll just show you the pins. We've seen it already in the close-up, I suppose. I would have to show you again. But if you use this biggest one, you might get a restricted direct-to-lung. But when it comes to tobacco, you can't vape it on direct-to-lung. So this tank is like the FEV, like the Spiker Pro, like the Kayfuns, like the Bishop, like the Expomizer V5, they're all meant for mouth-to-lung only. Now, within mouth-to-lung, you've got two types of mouth-to-lung RTAs, especially when it comes to tobacco. As I said before, the tobacco flavor is so delicate. You know, some guys will vape a natural extract and say, oh, this just tastes like... Well, you have a proper mouth-to-lung RTA, your naturally extracted tobacco will taste completely different. You would taste the most delicate back notes of that fresh leaf that it was extracted from, and that is the beauty of naturally extracted tobacco. But if you vape it on the wrong tank, or if you vape it direct to lung, low your nicotine, for instance, you're just wasting it. It's just a waste, right? So a proper mouth-to-lung RTA is very important, especially for those who vape tobacco all day like myself. So now we're coming towards the flavor of this tank. I put in here, like in the close-up, the El Chapo. The El Chapo is got that delicate honey flavor in the background that adds to that tobacco the whole flavor profile. All my mouth-to-lung RTAs that I reviewed on my channel, most of them get that honey flavor very, very nice. But some of them, it's alive. It's there in such a defined manner that changes the whole flavor profile. If I would vape the same liquid on, let's say, the tripod, and I'll put it in, let's say, in the cog or any other, the Reload or the Pandora, the mid-range type mouth-to-long RTA, it will change, it will taste different. On this tank, the same as the Bishop, the Kayfuns, the Fev, the Spiker Pro, the Sputnik, it tastes so much better. And that is where I'm coming now to, how does it compare, this tank, to the rest in regards of flavor? If I can tell you that since I put in the El Chapo in this tank, I simply can't leave it. It's all the time in my hand. It's so defined. It is so to the point that it is amazing. The Bishop, all those are exactly the same. You see, let me explain. Someone's going to ask me, is it better than the Bishop? Is it better than the Fev? Is it better than this or that? When you're already in the higher tier of mouth-to-long RTAs, that lately it's amazing revival of mouth-to-long RTAs. You're talking about splitting hairs to notice a difference, a noticeable difference in flavor between these high-end tanks. It's so difficult. I mean, I have got in here the same juice as in the tripod. More or less the same coil, 0.94, and this is a 0.99. Okay. The same flavor, the same liquid, I mean. It is very difficult to notice a difference. It might be a bit differently defined on this than on the Bishop. On the Bishop, it's a bit more airy, should I say. On the tripod is a bit more focused, more condensed, more. Is it the throated? No, it's more, maybe a bit richer, if that makes sense to you. And that would go as well as the Fev, the Kayfuns, the Sputnik, and the Spiker Pro. It's the same quality of flavor, but in a different delivery, in a sense, in a way. One is a bit more like sort of a deeper note. One is a deeper note on the honey. One is more of a delicate note on the tobacco. But as a flavor profile, as the enjoyment of my vape from that tank, in the end result, it is a superb vape on all these mouth-to-long RTAs that I just mentioned. The Pioneer is the least build quality from the ones I just mentioned. But if you get the wicking right, you get the very defined, but it's a sharper note. You pick up the earthiness and the nuttiness of the tobacco in a sharper note. When I vape the tripod, it is more of a richer note. You know, it's like top two guitars. One would give out a rich note in this note, and one will give out, it doesn't mean one is better than the other. It just gives out a bit, it delivers it a bit in a different way. I was thinking long and hard how to describe, because I know a lot of people who watch my reviews and buy those tanks, they're tobacco vapors, and they want to get the maximum out of their mouth-to-long RTAs. So I could tell you roughly, as best as I can, it's a different type of delivery, but at the end of the day, let me just hold this up. The Fev, the Bishop, the Kayfuns, yeah. The Lamo, I think, is just a bit behind on that overall profile. Although, but it's miles ahead of other mouth-to-long RTAs that I reviewed, like the Pandora, the Reload, even the Artemis. This is in a way more defined. The Artemis is very good on flavor, but the reverse threading is just a pain. I hardly use it, and that's a big shame. Yeah, so that's I think my verdict on the flavor. Now, when it comes to the Expomizer V5, the Expomizer V5 is more of catered to both tobacco and fruit. The whole design of this tank is beautiful, it's superb. It's Expomizer V4. I've been using it for a long time, and now I've been using the Expomizer V5. It's a top tank, but it's less focused on tobaccos. The ones I just mentioned, in my opinion, are more fine-tuned for tobaccos, not so much for fruit and dessert and creamy notes. So flavor-wise, well, I mean, it's top of the range. It will go along with the equally priced Sputnik, equally priced Kayfuns, and equally priced Fev as original, and Spiker Pro. That most probably I would get the original. Yeah, these are the only two clones that I ever reviewed. The reason for this, for the Fev, because I tried every which way to get it. It was impossible, only second hand. I said I might as well go for the clone. And I'm super, super happy. I mean, the quality of this YFTK is simply amazing. I've got in here the V-line from Black Note, how it brings out each note. It's amazing. So that is the Fev. And this one, most probably, I would get the original. Now I know how good it is. I would like to see if there is any difference at all between the two. And here, what makes this stand out, if you watch my review, is the throat hit. I'm not so big on throat hit. It doesn't make much of a difference to me. I am more into the flavor. You do get throat hit on all these mouth-to-long RTAs, including the Tripod, but manageable throat hit. There is tanks that I can't vape because of the throat hit. I mean, I could vape them, but very difficult. The Tokamak RDA mouth-to-long from Unicorns. Anyway, so build quality, airflow, flavor, superb. I mean, you can see it oozes class by just looking at it. The design is stunning, it's elegant, not over-branded. They've done an amazing job. You see, sometimes you think only certain countries are amazing, like the German, the Kayfuns and the like. Even the Expomizer V5 is German. A lot of German mouth-to-long RTAs are superb. But like I learned from the Parasus from Golden Greek, that I had to give back. And this one from Atmizoo from Greece. And the Spiker Pro from Turkey, yeah, and Sputnik from Switzerland. Something in this European design that they've got tobacco vapors in mind, and they do a marvelous job. Excellent. So, how's the Tripod compared to the rest of my tanks? Well, it's standing shoulder to shoulder with one of the best mouth-to-long RTAs out there for 2021, no doubt. Flavor, I can't leave this alone. The flavor is superb. There's a few nagging points. Yeah, the top cap. I have no idea why they've done it this way. But that's what I've done. But everything else is very simple. As soon as you get your airflow settings, you're done, and that's it. Yeah. Very happy, I must say, to the guys who recommended me to buy the tripod. You're absolutely right. I'm happy I got it. Well, it seems to me that I don't know how one can improve on the mouse to long RTAs that I've got already. I can't. I mean, yes, there is a lot of mouse to long RTAs out there that I haven't tried. But it's impossible for me to try everything. But could I see something better than the tripod? Could I see better something than the FEV, than all the ones I mentioned? Very hard. How could you? I mean, what could you do here more? Even with the throated adjustments, and now you got the Spiker Pro, that you can adjust the throated. So where could you go now further? Don't know. I am very excited to see what would bring this year. I mean, we're right fairly in the beginning of the year. What else will come up as something that can compete with the tanks that I just mentioned and the one I'm holding in my hand that is simply superb. Okay, I think I concluded this review. I will put below the specs. Now, I can go through it with you. It'll just take time. I don't want this review to take too long, but I will put below the spec in such detail that I download, I copy and paste from Atmizoo. It even tells you the space between post to post, that is 10 millimeter, and 6 point, and that is the reason why the ohms have gone a bit down from 1 to 9.7. It was different on the Coiling Master, but because of the distance of the post. You got even post-to-post net space 5.8 millimeter. You can get tank capacity is 2 mil, but you can get an extension to make this, I think, into a 4 mil that I don't have. You can get those inserts that I showed you in the deck. They unscrew the 510, and you can change those inserts as well. Height is, I'll put it all below. I don't think there's any reason for me to go. Oh, it's 3.4 mil, sorry, 3.4 mil, the extension kit option. The airflow inserts you've seen below. I'll put it all below so you can read it on your leisure. To sum this tank up, I am very, very impressed indeed. I thought I wouldn't be any more impressed after the excellent mouse to long RTAs, but you see yourself as another one that has been out for a while, and yeah, I'm happy I got it now. One thing just to consider, the Bishop is so good and it's so much cheaper. This should be a huge factor when you decide what tank you go for. I mean, this is over £100. This is 35, and I think Nature Vaper is selling it now on the website. Money-wise, this makes a lot more sense. Heart-wise, passion-wise, this makes more sense. What should win? That's up to you. That is the best thing I can say. Yeah, but I'm a passionate person, yeah, especially when it comes to my vaping. That's what kept me off the cigarettes now for 2.5 years soon. Yeah. Okay, I hope it was useful. I'll fine-tune it in your comments. If anyone wants to know a bit more information, or if I missed out something that you want to add, please leave it in the comments or email me. And as so much I can deliver in a review. I mean, it's already long enough, but I try to deliver it as a full package, as much information as I can give, and then fine-tune it in the comments or in the emails to everyone's individual taste and preference. Thank you for watching. Until next review, enjoy your vape. Take care. Bye-bye for now.